Greetings and Happy New Year to the amazing Illinois COG ministerial team and all the good ministers and laity of this great state, and to all of our friends, both in the state and outside the state, who might be seeing this video, and to my family. So to all of you, but especially to the ILCOG, Illinois Church of God ministerial team, I greet you and wish all of you a happy new year and a blessed year. And so I want to share a little lesson with you today. It's the second day of the year. I got in yesterday from visiting with family and friends. Had a wonderful time. I saw my parents and my mother-in-law, and then both of my kids and their entire families. And we were all in the same room. The first time we've done that in over 2 years. So it was a very special time. And then spent last week, in particular, we had access to a cabin. And so my 2 children and their families, and Sanja and I, Nana and Papa, we stayed there and had a wonderful time. But as a result, it kept me from doing something that I have done for years on that last week of the year. I try to take a few days and I try to reflect on the previous year and then on the upcoming year before you jump into it. And so I didn't get a chance to do that. I'm doing it this week, though. I've been doing it yesterday, the day before yesterday, as I was driving up on Sunday afternoon, we stayed at Clarksville and then drove on in yesterday. And I spent a lot of that time just reflecting, and then I really want to kind of put it down on paper this week. But I want to encourage you, brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you, and I've entitled this lesson, Stop, Go Directly to Reflection. And I'm going to give you one today, and then we'll each throughout this week. Before Sunday, I want to give you 4 things to do to begin your year right. And I want to do it, I hope you'll make the time this week before you get up on Sunday and make some bold prediction or promise that you haven't really thought through prayerfully and carefully. There's nothing that undermines our credibility more than making promises and casting vision that we don't follow up on and follow through on. And so I want us to spend some time in reflection. It's a great way to end the year, but I devoted myself to my family and don't regret that a bit. But now I'm back on the job, and I want us this week to do a little reflecting. So the first thing that I want to encourage you to do is step 1 is what I want to talk to you about today. So here it is in one sentence. Or 2 sentences. This is our thesis. If you do not see it, whatever it is will not happen. And the clearer you see it, the better the chance it will happen. Let me say that again. If you do not see it, whatever it is will not happen. And the clearer you see it, the better the chance it will happen. And here's something that I've learned a long time ago. The way that I frame it is, leaders create the future. You can count on it. If you're not creating your future, somebody else is. It's probably not in your best interest. But leaders sit down and they see things before it ever happens. They picture it in their mind and they begin to take action. And so what we see sets direction. It directs resources, and it inspires, or it can inspire other people to join with us. And so leaders create the future. That's what I want you to do this week. I want you to think about, I want my people, or I want my family, or I want myself. This works at every area of life. What do I see as a better future? If we see it, and the more clear we see it, the better the chance it'll happen. So leaders create the future. And if you're not creating the future and you're the leader, well, the future is going to be grim this year. It's just going to be like the children of Israel for 40 years wandering around in the wilderness. So if you want to see something better, you've got to see it first. And then managers manage the future that the leader creates. And now a leader has to be both a manager and a leader sometimes. We have to lead and manage. But that future, if you don't have people, and we'll talk about this more later this week, but if you don't have people around you, systems around you to help fulfill what you see, to help make it happen, then the future will still, you can have great grandiose dreams and see things, that are unbelievable. But if you don't manage the dream, if you don't manage the vision, if you don't manage what you see, then it still won't happen. And then, so leaders create the future, managers manage what was created, they manage that future in the present, and then the followers, like for church, they just show up, and if it's a great service, it's not because of anything they did in particular. Some of them may have prayed, but they're just counting on you as speaking to pastors, they're just counting on you as a pastor and your staff to have pulled things together. And if it's a great day, it's no thanks to them. They just experience what you've created and managed well or not well. And so leaders create the future, managers manage that future in the present, and then followers experience that future that was created by the leader, and their experience is no better than the quality of the management. And so that's so the thesis today is, if you do not see it, whatever it is, it will most likely not happen. So here's the mission for this lesson. All right, the mission, before you do anything else toward having a happy new year, we throw that out there. I want you to stop what you're doing, and I want you to go directly to a season of reflection throughout this day, throughout the next day, throughout this week, on what must happen for you, for your family, for your church, what must happen for you to have a happy, fulfilling, and God-honoring year. What must happen? I want you to see it, and I want you to see it clearly and get crystal clear on this is what must happen. And again, I can't stress it enough. I want you to see it in your mind. I want you to see it. This is a timeless and ongoing principle. It's the first thing that I do with every new project, every meeting I have, and when I make a telephone call, I try to picture in my mind what has to happen for this to be a win. So it's an ongoing thing, but in particular for this year, I want you to sit down and take some time and reflect on what has to happen for this to truly be a happy, fulfilling, and God-honoring new year for you, your family, your church, your job, whoever I'm talking to, whatever your sphere of influence and leadership is, what has to happen. Now, so that's the thesis. Here's the mission. That was the mission. And now the vision. What is the measurable deliverable that I can measure, the thing that I can do to make sure that my mission is achieved? And here it is. I want to encourage you to answer the following question. What do I see? What do I see for this year? I'm speaking to the Illinois Church of God ministerial team, especially to the senior leadership. What has to happen? What do I see happening that will make my church a more God-honoring church? What has to happen? What do I see? And get it as clear as you can. What do I see? What do I see for my life, for my ministry, for the assignment that God has given to me? And those of you, I've been here, I'm in my second year now. So I've had a number of conversations with every one of my pastors and many of our laymen and other ministers. I've had had conversations with you, and probably all of you have heard this question. What are you seeing right now? What do you see? What do you see for this month? What do you see for this year? What do you see for your church? What do you see for your life? I ask it all the time. And you know what the sad truth is? And I've been doing this for years, so it's not just for Illinois. Most people see nothing. When I ask that question, they're stumped. There's just this vague, I don't really see anything, because we don't take the time to sit down and be crystal clear on what it is we see to create a better future. And so there's no direction. There's not a wise allotment of resources. People are not inspired because there's no vision. We don't see anything. And so, because you go in the direction of what you see. And so it's just this vague, we wander around, we go through the motions, and it's so predictable, and nothing new and exciting is really happening. We're not going anywhere. That's why most people are not prepared for retirement. Because if you don't see clearly what it is you're going to do with your retirement, if you don't have a plan in place, if you don't have a deadline in place, if you don't have a goal in place, then there's no motivation to really save money, to prepare. Because remember, resources are directed toward what you see. If you're driving and you're going to drive across town to go to the convenience store to pick something up, then if you got a quarter of a tank of gas, you're fine. But if you're going to Nashville, Tennessee, then you're going to make sure you got a full tank. Resources are going to go in the direction you're going. And so I want to encourage you to take the time and answer this question: what do I see for my life, for my ministry, and for the assignment that God currently has for me? Now, here's one final thing along these lines, a word of advice. Don't be afraid of your desires and your ambitions. Your desires and ambition, that's the catalyst for life. All change and improvements are a result of people's desires. God puts those desires. God puts those ambitions in your heart. God guides your heart. He's created you for a purpose. But we allow false humility sometime or a low self-esteem to keep us. No, I have these ambitions. I have these desires. I can see myself doing that someday. I can see myself going there someday. I can see myself achieving that someday. But ambition, I shouldn't be ambitious. Or we let other voices of other people, you'll never amount to anything. You could never do that. You're not gifted in that area. And you can, on one hand, you see yourself, I could see myself doing that. But you can allow a false humility or a low self-image to keep you from tapping in to what God has created you for and put in you. I am so big on this, on desire. I look at, just as a leader, as an overseer, I look for people with ambition. I can do something with somebody that's got some get up and go. Their ambition there may be a lot of flesh in it. Yes, I understand that. But we'll let God work that out later. But if you don't see anything, there's no passion, no desire, no ambition, then there's very little movement in any particular direction. There's a lot of verses about it. I don't want to get all preachery on you here, but Psalm 20:4, may He grant you according to your heart's desire and fulfill all your purpose. Psalm 21:1-2, the king, the senior pastor, the leader, the head of a household, the king shall have joy in your strength, O Lord, and in your salvation. How greatly shall he rejoice. You have given him, why is he rejoicing? Why is the leader rejoicing? You have given him his heart's desire and have not withheld the request of his lips. He spoke, he saw it, he spoke it, and he seized it. This is my favorite one of my life verses, Psalm 37:4. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he'll give you the desires of your heart. As I said a moment ago, don't surrender your desires and ambitions to a false humility or to a low self-esteem. Surrender your desires and your ambition, what you can see yourself doing. Surrender it to God and to his service. And he'll sanctify it. He'll guide your heart. He'll help you crucify the flesh. He'll help you purify your motives. But if there's no desire, if there's no ambition, then there's going to be very little vision. So what do you see yourself doing someday? What do you see your church accomplishing this year? What do you see? You're creating the future by what you see. George W. Crane, who was a he's a doctor, a psychologist, but also a newspaper columnist for many, many years. He talked a lot about having a highly educated man, but he talked a lot about just having good horse sense. He wrote a whole book on that. Do you have horse sense? But he said, there is no future in any job. The future lies in the person who holds the job. That was George W. Crane. There is no future in any job. The future lies in the person who holds the job. And wherever you're at right now is where you are. And whatever you have in your hand, it may be like Shamgar and all he had was a stick, an ox goad. Or maybe like baby Jesus who had gold, myrrh, and frankincense. That's a pretty good start for a young boy. Got him all the way into Egypt and back. But whatever you are is where you are, and whatever you got is what you got. The future is not in where you are. It's not in what you've got, your resources or lack of resources. The future is in you. What do you see? What do you see for yourself? What do you see for your family? What do you see for your people? What do you really see? Can you articulate it right now? Don't get up to my ministers. Don't get up on Sunday and say a word until you've taken this week and reflected on what you see. And then you speak it and you seize it and you have a happy new year. So whatever you do this year, take the time now to prayerfully reflect on what 2024 and beyond looks like for you. See it clearly and allow that vision to set the direction for the year and set the allocation of your resources. We'll talk more about that throughout the week. God bless you. Let's keep running to win as we reflect on what we see for a better future.